This morning from the strangest dream. I was in the biggest army the world has ever seen. We were marching as one on the road to the Holy Grail. It started out seeking fortune and glory. It's a short song, but it's a hell of a story when you spend your lifetime trying to get your hands on the Holy Grail. Have you heard about the Great Crusade? We ran into millions and nobody got paid. Yeah, we raised 4 corners of the globe for the Holy Grail.
To the sensational revelations of 1963 that became known as the Profumo Affair. 10 years in preparation, it's the first screen account of the story to see the light of day in 25 years. So in tonight's special media show, we look again at the story that kicked off the 60s and at how Fleet Street sold and TV satirised the scandal to the nation, and ask whether new doubts about the official version of the events is the reason why it's taken so long to tell the story again.
I think that
I was born on the 8th of the 3rd, 1963. It was a big year. I came in 10 pounds and split my mother open like a watermelon. John Kennedy was assassinated. And Christine Keeler brought down the British government. We ended up with the same Lomo. Lewis Morley. Funny about that.
Woke up this morning from the strangest dream. I was in the biggest army the world has ever seen. We were marching as one on the road to the Holy Grail.
Eye to eye. He was a dirty dog, really. But I thought he was my friend. Even though he didn't really feel like a friend. I mean, for a start, I always had to ring him. Friends ring you. With handlers, you phone home. For some simulated empathy.
London photographer Lewis Morley is intent on getting the right angle. And what lovely angles they are. Today's avant-garde snap-happy brigade are a far cry from the days when taking a picture was marked by a puff of smoke. Now...
we did our first photo shoot together at Norma Larson's house at 8 Paul Street, Balmain. To be honest, I didn't know who he was until they told me that he was the legendary photographer who shot everybody of importance during the swinging 60s, including Christine Keeler, who was a spy prostitute who brought down the British government by shagging John Profumo.
And Christine is...
So he came with good references, and he sounded quite exotic.
She's been shot. So he's
But I
hiding
had
in
no
plain
idea
sight. He's telling you that
why
the
he
shoot was a murder.
might want to shoot me.
And we've got the black, white and red.
And he didn't seem that impressed either,
The whole
to be honest.
satanic ritual of the photo shoot.
It was a very strange day.
And then
I was sweaty and my pores were all open, and all in all I felt quite lumpy.
the Godzilla, Keela, the blonde,
Like a lumpy
the doll,
proletariat.
or the series of
He
dolls.
told me later that I had a
That's
head
how
like
I
an
felt.
Irish potato,
This original
so I couldn't
60s
work
model,
out why he kept taking so many
the
pictures
Morley
of me.
sacrifice. The human sacrifice, the slow kill,
But now I know.
because her life
He shot me through my
torture,
metamorphosis
and she is most certainly a targeted
from
individual.
caterpillar to
And the ghost of
butterfly,
the civil dead. And there he is,
from Norma Jean,
this book.
the archetypal orphan,
That is totally
which
revolting.
turns out is
What is that?
in my bloodline, both sides.
What is that?
Then I morph into Marilyn Monroe. I'm like the 80s experiment with a 1960s model Lomo. That's what they call them apparently. It's in the MK Ultra Masonic Dictionary. The person who videos you and documents you through film and photos. That person's called a Lomo. So you could say that Lewis Morley was my Lomo between 1986 and 2000. Yeah, I think the century ended with the last shoot, which was 1998, when I was making Post-Romantic. There might have been a few photos after that, but they were happy snaps. The real documentation was done between 1986 and 1998. And one of those portraits was hung in the State Gallery for the Lewis Morley retrospective. I was hung next to Hunter S. Thompson and a couple of frames up from Barry Humphries. I think Dudley Moore was also there, and all in all it was just me and a wall of men. And I remember Barry Humphries just looking at that photo and saying, fascinating.
Lewis Morley, 66, the Hong Kong-born photographer who took the famous evocative nude photograph of Christine Keeler straddling a chair, chose out-of-work actress Wednesday Kennedy. Well, actually, I wasn't out of work at that time. I was living in Tokyo, and I was working as an English teacher and studying Kyogen, and I was working quite a lot actually. But isn't that interesting? Already that's like a low status. Lewis told them that I was out of work. Wednesday 28 set out on the road to celebrate celebrity status as a reporter on Simon Townsend's Wonderworld in 1985 actually, 1986, just months before the program was axed. She's a girl who's had a lot of setbacks, that's why I chose her, Mr. Morley said. I wonder why I've had a lot of setbacks. After Wonderworld, she was chosen for a soap opera on Channel 10. They made a pilot and then they scrapped it. But instead of giving up, Wednesday headed to Japan to teach English and try to get work acting. She's unlike other people her age. Others, especially actors who are out of work, get really depressed and don't do anything else. If they're not back, they take it really hard. So many kids these days just want things to happen for them to fall at their feet. The go-ahead this girl's got is terrific. That's why I chose her. Mr. Morley photographed Wednesday as a favour for a mutual friend, Norma Larson.
Lewis Morley's friend was Norma Larson, mother of Andrew Yare, and
Where's the champagne?
an excellent artist who used her talents to feed the
I
Monarch
always say what people
program.
think. Oh, that is amazing.
Pretty much exactly as I remember.
The Monarch program is named after the monarch butterfly because the monarch butterfly remembers the flight path of its butterfly ancestors, which in short means that you can have parents who are really good people, as I do. But the Monarch program can bypass your parents and unlock ancestral traumas and predilections. I was chosen because my great-great maternal grandmother was Octavia Hamilton, otherwise known as the wicked soprano, the Scarlet Woman of colonial Australian opera.
The impossible rap is ready to appear. Is it possible you are ready to hear? It's got something to do with what you just said. It's a thought you can't remember in the back of your head.
Down the Alice in Wonderland with the white trash.
Miss Octavia Hamilton, Madame Schluter, Miss Lorette, Monsieur Emile Coulon. They did a lot of gigs together. Star Theatre. Thursday. Octavia, my love, where art thou? Octavia Hamilton was a contralto who flourished in Melbourne in the late 1850s and through the 1860s. She had several children to unknown fathers, shacked up with a gent above a wine shop, and made her husband pay for it. She was looked upon generally as a scandalous figure and a model of what was wrong with professionals, as stage folk were then called. When I dug into the census of 1841, I found something interesting. She was 15 years old when her future husband, Augustus Graham Moon, was lodging with the family. The only lodger. Well, slap me happy if they didn't get married that very year. Mr. Moon must have had his way with Octavia, under her father's roof. That's gumption. And all these years I'd have been feeling sorry for hard done by Mr. Noon. Was Octavia, Frances Eliza Scrivener, really Melbourne's operatic tart-in-chief? Or was her behaviour a long campaign of revenge? I'll never know. She's hard to find, almost impossible. The only route I have open to the little red Corvette that resides in my brain is the tarmac road of her daughter's descendants. There's a butterfly box.
She loved religious icons, even though she wasn't religious, she had a deep spiritual connection, really. As we saw today in the Jehovah's Witnesses that came by and was so sad to hear. It was so heartfelt. Okay. We welcomed them in. And they said that Norma had always loved their Watchtower magazine. The Jehovah's Witnesses that came by and was so sad to hear. It was so heartfelt. Okay. We welcomed them in. And they said that Norma had always loved their Watchtower magazine. She was a bit of a displeased at So Norma embraced everything. She was the first woman to own a car.
Earlier this year, well actually it was a couple of years before, he describes her face as interesting but not beautiful. What benefit is there looking like Madonna without the will or desire to achieve a similar status, he asked. Aping and following a fad is not enough in the 90s. To be a sheep in the look-alike herd is no big deal. For me, the important essence to exploit is not the surface of the visage, but the inner determination of the spirit. In one word, courage. And one word is worth 1,000 pictures. Well, it's interesting that he mentions Madonna, because they were really trying to push Madonna with me. It was the Whore of Babylon thing. They did want me as a sort of leader in their cult. The cult that runs the world. But I didn't have the right character. Too much Irish in me.
Before Christianity came to Avalon, it was the home of pre-Christian religion, the religion of the Druids on the holy Isle of Avalon. Avalon was not an earthly place. Only those that believed in secrets, magic and fairies could enter Avalon. But as Christianity grew stronger, Avalon faded into the mists.
What a nice story from Wednesday Kennedy in England.
And too much Scottish, maybe. Stubbornness.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And it was unnecessary for him to say that I wasn't beautiful. But this is what Lewis did, you know. He'd give a compliment in one hand and then a slap in the other. And that's the handler's role. The handler's role is to play good cop, bad cop, good cop, bad cop.
Horses!
Hello.
Every day I pray to God to give me horses. Wonderful horses.
Wonderful horses. Beautiful horses. Magnificent horses, sir. Well, Mr. Cole, would you like to see some horses?
Yes, sir. After you circle, you stop on your mark, stage left. Lean forward in the saddle, face the audience, wave, greet them.
Where's the horse?
Bring in the damn horse. Spot, please.
Bring on Simon Townsend's Wonderworld. Stage 3
Simon Townsend's
of my
Wonderworld was the
Monarch
first of its
program.
kind.
What's this gadget here?
I guess it's now a story about collecting guns. All right, I'm coming.
Nobody could have imagined that it might have been an intelligence front and a MK Ultra Monarch programming factory. How could we imagine that? We were too busy imagining that the world really was wonderful. Producer Harvey Shaw, ex-military intelligence, with a brother who's a master mason, ran a very tight ship at Wonderworld, and he worked in with the researchers to send us on our stories. That's where I met Andrew Yeh on a Wonderworld story. From that moment, Andrew began madly courting me.
His unhappy death. In relation to this, another interesting point, factually speaking, when a person is bitten by a deadly scorpion, the wound appears to be, or looks like, 2 human lips. The ancients called this the kiss of death. This is why we read that Judas, or October, gives God's son the kiss, leading to his death in winter. And that is the original.
But if Wonderworld was my monarch butterfly training ground, then Andrew Yeh was my kiss of death, my scorpion sting. As soon as he moved to Sydney, I got sick.
About this, Fritz Springmeier's book, The Illuminati Formula to Create an Undetectable Total Mind Control Slave, claims that songs and nursery rhymes were utilized with this monarch programming in order to elicit certain behaviors or attitudes. And I believe that this is what we see when he's implanting certain messages into her subconscious.
The original October surprise. There was an
Curious Yellow. That was Steve Kilby's girlfriend's band. So, his birthday suit, playing with Curious Yellow and the Funsters. Oh, at the Opera House. But we weren't called birthday suit to begin with. We were called the Fish John West Rejected. Musical brawls. Believe it or not, Australian bands appear to be running out of clever names. A few days ago we mentioned that a band called the Fish John West Rejects was playing in Sydney. We have since received a letter from Mark Narkovitz of Dilston, Tasmania, who says he is a member of a band with the same name, which has been playing in Tasmanian pubs since November 1985. Mr. Narkovitz said the Tasmanians were very concerned about the situation. We have never stopped using the name, and we do not intend to stop using the name. We have the name protected by copyright, and any legal action against these people in order to reattain sole use of the name would be unfortunate. If anyone from the Fish John West Rejects Sydney version wants to give his or her side of the story, this column would appreciate a call. Oh. See, you know, to stay in touch, Sydney Morning Herald. But, you know, by him choosing that name as well, he also discredited me. Because to steal another band's name, man, you know. But it was probably all worked out, not only to discredit me, but also just to give the Jehovah's Witness stamp to it. That our first name was the Fish Jehovah's Witness Rejected. And then, of course, we were naked because the band was, or I was naked, because the band was changed to birthday suit. Musical brawls too. Readers with long memories will recall yesterday's item regarding a Tasmanian band called the Fish John West Reject. A member of the band wrote to complain that a Sydney band had pinched its name. Last night a member of the Sydney band, Wednesday Kennedy, called to give her side of the story.
Miss Kennedy, see, I'm covering for him. I just sort of said, I should have said, oh, look, I didn't come up with the name, sorry. But no, being the good slave, I cover. Miss Kennedy said that her band is actually called the Fish John West Rejected. We didn't know there was a band with a similar name in Tasmania. She said we just thought it was a good name to start our musical career, but we are sorry this has caused so much trouble in Tasmania. Miss Kennedy said the Fish John West Rejected were considering looking for a new name anyway. We have yet to hear from Mr. West.
Okay, this story's getting long now, and I need to finish it. I need to put all these pieces together. So let's quickly just go back and line up all the evidence. There's the Octavia Hamilton factor. Octavia Hamilton
What was wrong with professionals as stage folk with them?
was one of Australia's first celebrities, meaning she was one of Australia's first whore of Babylon. A sort of colonial Madonna in the end.
Was that Octavia?
And that's why they chose me for the Monarch program. And that's why so many of my perps came from Melbourne. Melbourne.
Tartan sheaf? Or...
See, this is where my silencing program starts to kick in. When I really start to put the pieces together. When I can see what I couldn't see for 53 years. That's a lifetime. If I'd have opened my eyes before this, if I'd have not been locked in their invisible prison, I might have had babies. I might have been able to put my hope in the next generation and just gone back to sleep. But I don't have that option. My truth is my baby, and the father of my truth is my Lord, Jesus Christ. And so I ask Jesus, what do I do here? Do I just can the whole video and bury my story? Or do I forge on and keep putting these pieces together?
Moving on to verses 6 through 8. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let's break this down. This is heavy. No matter what you're asking the Lord for, you have got to ask faithfully and with a sincere belief. Consider the waves of the sea, being forced back and forth, forward and backward. They're wavering. Many people waver in their faith, or what they even consider to be their faith. It's very popular.
Making a mold for a new sculpture is easy. When the clay has been softened, just bash out the shape of your choice. All the Morley originally trained as a graphic designer, and he's a self-taught photographer, painter, and sculptor. There's nothing conventional about his creations. Nails are the basic material for some of his unusual sculptures. His work isn't abstract in concept, though he tries to portray the essence of his subject. For cold casting, Morley covers his base with a gooey resin which will eventually set hard around his nailed outline. The technique looks deceptively simple. In fact, it's no easy task to produce the significant shapes which Morley casts. Painting and sculpting are his real loves. He turned to full-time photography only when he married because he reckoned it was the most lucrative of his talents. Now he can find time to sculpt for pleasure. And when the resin has set, pluck his latest creation from its clay bed. Morley has his own distinctive painting style, too. At one time, he was a Paris-based artist, painting by day and living from the money he earned as a telephone operator at night. Gradually, he developed a strange technique, splashing and daubing his paint around and then burning it. Blow lamp artistry may not be everybody's idea of hot stuff, but Morley achieves a strangely textured effect on his plywood or hardboard base by mixing inflammable and non-inflammable paints and then scorching them. He has already had one exhibition of his paintings, so it may not be long before Morley switches his camera for his blow lamp and does photography in his spare time.